She's about to close a $950 million deal, but she has no idea he secretly owns the company. One spilled glass of wine changes everything. Shock, humiliation, and hidden power collide in a way no one expected. Secrets are revealed, rivals exposed, and revenge is served. Watch as one man turns a public embarrassment into total control, leaving everyone stunned. Marcus Thompson, a tall and athletic black man in his early 30s, stepped out of his sleek black sedan on the busy streets of Manhattan. The morning sun reflected off the skyscrapers, sending light dancing across the sidewalk. People hurried past, cars honked in rhythm, but Marcus walked calmly, adjusting his tailored navy suit. Today was not an ordinary day. Today, his wife, Olivia Thompson, would sign a deal worth $950 million. Inside a glass-walled conference room at the top of a modern skyscraper, Olivia was already at work. Her blonde hair was pulled into a neat bun, and her tailored dress made her look every bit the executive she had become. She laughed lightly as she gave instructions to her assistants, her confidence radiating in every movement. The team around her responded with energy, showing admiration and respect for her leadership. Marcus paused at the lobby, observing silently. Most people saw him as Olivia's supportive husband, a background figure in her career story. They had no idea he held a secret that could change everything. He owned the company she was about to sign a contract with. No one, not her team, not her colleagues, not even Olivia, knew the truth. He walked toward the elevator, noting the nervous energy of assistants and the confident swagger of her advisors. The scene made him smile slightly. Today would be interesting. He had chosen to be present, but just as an observer for now. He wanted to see how Olivia would perform, how she would navigate this high-pressure moment unaware of the real power behind the company. The elevator doors opened to the top floor. The panoramic view of Manhattan was breathtaking, and the sleek, modern design of the office reflected the seriousness of the occasion. Cameras were already positioned, ready to capture Olivia's moment of triumph. Investors, journalists, and executives filled the room, their eyes on her as she prepared to make her big speech and sign the deal. Marcus remained near the back, blending in with the crowd. He noted her radiant smile, her energy, and the commanding presence she carried. He remembered the long nights she had spent building her career, the sacrifices she had made, the arguments they had shared about work-life balance, and even the moments she confided her fears. Few truly knew her as he did. As Olivia raised her pen to sign the papers, Marcus felt a thrill of anticipation. The irony of the situation was undeniable. Here she was, negotiating a deal worth nearly $1 billion, completely unaware that the company she was about to commit to belonged to her husband. The room was filled with excitement, tension, and expectation, but Marcus held the ultimate advantage quietly, confidently. He observed the executives, the media, and the investors, noting their body language. Some looked nervous, others smug, thinking they held the upper hand. Marcus adjusted his tie slightly and walked a step closer. He remained unnoticed, but the moment of revelation would soon arrive. He imagined their reactions when the truth came out. Shock, disbelief, and maybe even anger. Marcus exhaled, savoring the calm before the storm. The city outside gleamed under the morning sun. But inside the conference room, a dramatic event was about to unfold. The stage was set, the players were in position, and Marcus Thompson, calm and composed, was ready to change the rules of the game. The room was filled with a quiet hum of anticipation as Olivia adjusted the contract papers in front of her. Investors leaned forward, their eyes scanning every detail, while cameras flashed to capture each precise moment. Marcus stayed at the back, arms crossed lightly, his expression calm. He watched her carefully, noting the confidence in her movements. She was fully in control, or at least that was what everyone thought. Olivia smiled and stood addressing the room. This deal represents not only growth for our company, but a commitment to innovation and excellence. Her voice was steady, commanding attention. She glanced at the investors, expecting nods and approval. Applause followed lightly, but Marcus noticed subtle tension in some faces. A few competitors were already sizing up their advantage, unaware of the hidden twist that would soon unfold. As the discussion continued, assistants began passing pens and papers for signatures. Olivia picked up a golden pen with a flourish, placing it carefully on the contract. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the elegance of the moment. Marcus's mind wandered briefly. He remembered how Olivia had always worked tirelessly to climb her career ladder. She had no idea that her success today was ironically dependent on the company that he secretly owned. The room seemed perfect, pristine, and polished. Marcus took a slow step closer to the table, blending in with the crowd. He noticed Olivia's assistant handing her a glass of red wine to celebrate the signing. It was a tradition, a symbol of achievement. Olivia raised the glass, glancing toward her team. Laughter filled the air, everyone celebrating the anticipated success. Marcus's eyes, however, stayed fixed on her. He could sense the subtle arrogance, the thrill of accomplishment that came from believing she had control. It was about to shift dramatically. He silently calculated how the next few moments would change the room forever. Just as Olivia was about to sip from her wine glass, she noticed Marcus standing near the back. A playful smirk crossed her face, perhaps thinking it was the perfect opportunity to tease him. She raised her voice slightly. "Marcus, care to join the celebration?" He gave a small, polite smile. Before he could respond, a sudden burst of excitement overcame her. With a quick, impulsive motion, Olivia leaned forward slightly, and the wine glass slipped from her hand. The deep red liquid arched through the air and spilled directly onto Marcus's crisp navy suit. Gasps filled the room. Cameras caught the shocking moment instantly. The celebratory laughter turned into stunned silence. Marcus froze for a moment, letting the wine soak the front of his jacket. His expression remained calm, almost unreadable, but inside, he felt a surge of amusement. Everyone expected anger, confrontation, or embarrassment. Instead, Marcus simply stepped aside, quietly observing Olivia's panic. The contrast between the humiliation she had just caused and the power he truly held created an invisible tension in the room. Olivia's face turned pale. "Oh my God, Marcus, I am so sorry. I didn't mean—" Marcus held up a hand to stop her. He took a deep breath, letting the moment linger. The investors shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispering to one another, unsure what was happening. Marcus's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Olivia's flustered state. He had seen enough. The time for reveal was near, and he could sense the storm about to break. He straightened his jacket as much as possible and stepped forward. "Olivia," he said, his voice steady, commanding attention. The room quieted further. "I think it is time you know the full story about this deal." The room went silent. Every eye turned toward Marcus, their curiosity piqued. Olivia froze mid-apology, staring at him, confused and frightened. Marcus's calm gaze met hers directly. He had waited for this moment. The perfect mix of drama, irony, and revelation was unfolding exactly as he had planned. "I know you didn't realize this, Olivia," Marcus said, his voice steady and commanding. "But the company behind this deal, the one you worked so hard to negotiate with, is mine. I am the owner." Gasps filled the room. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the stunned reactions of investors and executives alike. Olivia's hand trembled slightly, the pen in her grasp almost dropping to the table. You own the company?" she asked, disbelief coloring her tone. Marcus nodded. "Every part of it. Every contract. Every negotiation. You've been impressive. No doubt, but the truth is, the company you thought you were impressing with your skills belongs to me." Whispers spread through the room like wildfire. Investors leaned back, shocked at the revelation. A few competitors shifted uncomfortably, realizing that everything they had, assumed about control and power, in this deal was completely upside down. Olivia's team looked from her to Marcus, eyes wide with amazement. Olivia's mouth opened, but no words came out. She had spent months preparing, believing she had mastered the deal. Yet now, she realized she had been negotiating under her husband's ownership without knowing it. Marcus took a step closer, his calm expression leaving no room for argument or disbelief. "This means," Marcus continued, "that the deal you were about to sign today needed my approval, and it has already been approved. Your hard work is appreciated, but I wanted you to understand who you were really negotiating with." Olivia's face flushed red. The embarrassment of the wine incident combined with the shock of Marcus's revelation made the moment almost unbearable. She had publicly humiliated him without realizing that he had all the leverage in the room. Marcus's voice softened slightly. I am proud of you, Olivia. You've grown tremendously as an executive. But it is important to remember that appearances can be deceiving. The room remained tense, every person processing the twist. Marcus looked around, gauging reactions. Investors were impressed by his composure. The executives were calculating how this revelation would affect their strategies. Olivia, still recovering, swallowed hard, finally realizing the magnitude of what had just happened. A brief pause filled the room. Marcus straightened his jacket again and offered a small, almost teasing smile. "Now shall we finish the celebration properly?" he asked. Olivia nodded, still stunned, as everyone slowly resumed their seats, murmuring among themselves. The deal would continue, but the dynamic had completely shifted. Olivia understood that today had been a turning point, not just in business, but in her personal life as well. Marcus had revealed his power with precision, ensuring that the lesson would not be forgotten. The room was buzzing quietly with whispers. Investors leaned over their notes, exchanging subtle glances. Competitors were trying to mask their shock, but it was clear that Marcus's revelation had completely shifted the power dynamic. Cameras continued clicking, capturing the stunned faces of executives and journalists who realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Olivia sat frozen at the head of the table, still holding her pen. The wine stain on Marcus's suit had dried slightly, but the mark was a reminder of the humiliation she had caused. She opened her mouth, ready to apologize again. But Marcus raised a hand gently, stopping her. "It's fine," he said. "I think the lesson is clear." A young assistant whispered to an investor, "Did he just say he owns the company?" The investor nodded, barely able to hide his disbelief. Marcus noticed the reaction and allowed himself a small smile. Power, Marcus knew, was not just in control but in timing, and he had chosen this moment perfectly. Olivia finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. I didn't know. I had no idea. I thought I was negotiating independently, and I didn't mean to." Marcus shook his head, his expression calm but firm. "I know. You've worked hard, Olivia. That is not the issue. The issue is understanding the reality of the world you are navigating. This is how business works. And today, you've learned a very important lesson." The room remained tense. Some executives nodded slowly, absorbing the message. Others were clearly confused, trying to reconcile the impressive work Olivia had done with the shocking revelation about Marcus' ownership. Cameras flashed repeatedly, and the journalists' pens scribbled fast. By now, every word Marcus said was recorded and would likely make headlines the next day. Olivia tried to regain her composure, taking a deep breath. "I understand," she said softly, her pride bruised but her intellect still sharp. "But I still want to finish the deal properly. It's important to me." Marcus gave a small approving nod. "Of course. Let's proceed, but remember that confidence without awareness can be dangerous." The contract signing continued, though the energy had changed. Olivia moved deliberately, signing her name carefully, every signature carrying a subtle acknowledgement of Marcus's hidden authority. Investors watched in fascination, some impressed by Olivia's skill and grace, others captivated by Marcus's calm dominance. As the formalities concluded, Marcus leaned slightly toward Olivia. "You handled yourself well under pressure," he said quietly, making sure only she could hear. "But never forget, power is more than just effort and talent. Timing, knowledge, and leverage are just as important." Olivia nodded, her mind racing. This incident would stay with her. The embarrassment, the revelation, the lesson, it was all woven together, creating a moment she would never forget. But she also realized something else. Marcus's calm control and strategic timing were qualities she both admired and feared. The crowd slowly started to disperse, the media still lingering to ask questions. Marcus and Olivia stepped aside, giving themselves a few moments away from the cameras. Outside the room, Marcus finally allowed a genuine smile to form. He had executed the perfect reveal. The lesson was delivered, and yet the partnership between them remained intact, albeit now redefined. Olivia looked at him, a mix of awe and frustration in her eyes. "I can't believe I just poured wine on the man who owns the whole deal." Marcus laughed softly. "It happens. But that's the thing about power, Olivia. Sometimes it's hidden where you least expect it." After the conference ended, Marcus and Olivia left the skyscraper quietly, avoiding the lingering press and investors. The elevator ride was silent, tension hanging thick between them. Olivia's mind replayed every moment, the wine spilling, The gasps, the shocked faces, and Marcus's calm, almost amused demeanor. Once they reached the lobby, Olivia stopped and turned to him. "Marcus, why didn't you tell me earlier? I could have, I don't know, avoided all of that." Marcus leaned against the polished wall, arms crossed. "Because you needed to experience it yourself." This was never just about the deal, Olivia. It was about understanding the real power structure in business. I could have told you, but then it wouldn't have sunk in the way it did. Olivia sighed, running a hand through her hair. "So the humiliation was necessary?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Not humiliation, clarity. A lesson in awareness." "You are brilliant, Olivia. But brilliance without context can be dangerous. Today you saw the truth." They walked out into the busy Manhattan streets. The noise of traffic and pedestrians contrasted sharply with the intensity of the morning. Olivia's pride was bruised, yet she couldn't deny the truth in Marcus's words. She had been confident, skilled, and assertive, but she had underestimated him and the hidden power he held. "I can't believe I didn't see it," she admitted softly, almost to herself. "I thought I was the one negotiating the deal." Marcus chuckled quietly. "You were negotiating, yes, but with the owner of the company? The difference is subtle but critical." Olivia glanced at him, her mind spinning. "And the wine." That was almost poetic. Marcus laughed, a deep, genuine sound. "Consider it a dramatic punctuation mark, a reminder that appearances can be misleading." They reached the car and Marcus held the door for her. Olivia paused before getting in, still processing the morning's events. The city seemed different now, larger, filled with invisible power dynamics she had only begun to understand. Marcus started the car, eyes on the road, his mind already thinking ahead. "You handled yourself well today, Olivia. That's why I married you. But never forget, the world of business is as much about strategy as it is about skill." Olivia nodded quietly. She had learned a lesson she would never forget. But she also felt a newfound respect for Marcus, not just as her husband, but as someone who wielded power quietly, decisively, and effectively. As they drove through the bustling streets, the sun glinting off skyscrapers, Olivia realized that today had changed her perception of everything. The deal was signed, the lesson delivered, and the partnership between her and Marcus had shifted into a new, more profound understanding of each other and the game of power they played together. That evening, Marcus and Olivia returned to their apartment, a sleek penthouse overlooking the city skyline. The sun was setting, casting golden reflections across the glass walls. Marcus poured 2 glasses of water and handed one to Olivia, who accepted it silently. The tension from the day still lingered thick in the air. Olivia finally broke the silence. "I can't stop thinking about today. The deal, the wine, everything. I felt completely out of control." Marcus nodded, taking a slow sip. "It was meant to be a wake-up call. Power isn't always obvious, Olivia. It's often hidden in plain sight. You did well today, but the lesson had to be learned the hard way." Olivia frowned, crossing her arms. "So humiliating me publicly was part of your plan?" Marcus shook his head. "Not humiliation, perspective. You needed to see the truth with your own eyes. Everyone in that room underestimated you, but you underestimated me. That's what I wanted you to realize." Olivia's mind was spinning. She had always considered herself sharp, capable, and prepared. Yet in the boardroom, she had been blind to Marcus's control. The irony was almost unbearable. The wine spill, the gasps, the whispers. It was like a dramatic scene in a movie, and Marcus had orchestrated the perfect timing. She took a deep breath sitting on the sofa. "I thought I was in charge. I thought I was the one making the moves. But today, I realized how much I still have to learn." Marcus walked over, sitting beside her. "That's exactly why I didn't tell you earlier. Experience teaches better than words ever could, and you handled it better than I expected. I'm proud of you, Olivia." Olivia looked at him, a mix of frustration and admiration in her eyes. "I hate that you're right, and I hate that I feel impressed." Marcus smiled faintly. "Good. Feeling impressed is part of the lesson. Respect the power, respect the timing, and respect the unseen forces at play." She leaned back, reflecting. The city lights shimmered in the distance, the bustling streets below contrasting with the quiet intensity inside their apartment. The day had changed everything. Olivia understood that her confidence alone was not enough. Awareness, timing, and knowledge were equally critical. Marcus's gaze softened. "Tomorrow we move forward. The deal is signed, The lesson is delivered. But there's more to come. I want to make sure you're ready for what's next, in business and in life. Olivia nodded slowly. She felt the weight of responsibility, the sting of humiliation, but also a sense of clarity. Today had been about learning, but tomorrow would be about action. The night grew darker, the city lights reflecting in the penthouse windows. Marcus and Olivia sat quietly, processing the events. They knew that the game they played was not just about money or deals. It was about perception, strategy, and the ability to stay one step ahead. Olivia finally spoke, her voice low but determined. I won't forget this day, and I won't underestimate anyone again, especially not you. Marcus chuckled softly. Good, that's exactly the point. The next morning, the penthouse was filled with the aroma of fresh coffee. Olivia moved around the kitchen quietly, making breakfast, her mind still replaying yesterday's events. Marcus was reviewing financial reports at the dining table, calm as ever, but his eyes occasionally flicked toward her, studying her reactions. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. Olivia pressed the button. Yes? A familiar voice spoke, but there was an edge of urgency. Miss Thompson, we have a visitor. He insists it's urgent. Can you buzz him in? Olivia frowned. Who is it? He didn't say, the concierge replied. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Let's see who it is. Moments later, the elevator doors opened, and a tall man in a sharp suit stepped out. His presence was commanding, and there was a subtle tension in the air as he walked toward the penthouse entrance. Olivia opened the door, and the man's eyes briefly scanned the room before settling on Marcus. Marcus Thompson? The man asked, his tone serious. That's me, Marcus replied, calm but alert. I'm David Collins, senior partner at Wellington Partners. We have a situation that requires your immediate attention. Olivia looked confused. Situation? What kind of situation? David glanced at her but returned his gaze to Marcus. It concerns the deal you finalized yesterday. There are complications, unexpected clauses in the contract that need your intervention. It's sensitive and it's urgent. Marcus nodded slightly. Thank you for letting me know. Let's discuss it in detail. He gestured for David to sit at the table. Olivia observed silently, sensing the gravity of the moment. As the discussion unfolded, Marcus listened intently while David explained the situation. Some clauses in the $950 million contract were misinterpreted by external advisors, creating potential leverage for competitors. Marcus's calm demeanor never wavered, though inside, he was already planning the next steps. Olivia watched him closely. She had seen him handle difficult situations before, but this was on a different level. Marcus's ability to remain composed while analyzing threats, calculating risks, and formulating strategy was almost uncanny. The more she observed, the more she realized the depth of his hidden influence. You see, Marcus said finally, turning to Olivia, even after the deal is signed, the work doesn't end. Business is never static. Every move creates ripple effects. Awareness and timing are everything. Olivia nodded, absorbing the lesson silently. The events of yesterday and today were reshaping her understanding of power, influence, and strategy. She had been brilliant in execution, but Marcus's hidden control and foresight had been the real game changer. The visitor, David, left after briefing them thoroughly. Marcus and Olivia sat in quiet reflection, the city outside their windows bustling as usual. The thrill, tension, and challenge of business had revealed new dimensions of partnership, strategy, and trust between them. Olivia finally spoke, her voice thoughtful. I think I'm beginning to understand. There's more to learn than I realized, and I want to be ready. Marcus smiled. That's the right mindset. Today was just the beginning. The city lights sparkled outside Marcus's penthouse, but inside, tension hung like a heavy curtain. Marcus sat at the desk reviewing legal documents, while Olivia paced the living room. The recent contract complications had been resolved quickly, but both knew that in the world of billion-dollar deals, nothing stayed simple for long. Olivia finally stopped pacing, arms crossed. Marcus, this whole situation, it's exhausting. Every time I think we're done, something else comes up. Marcus didn't look up. That's the nature of high-stakes business, Olivia. Threats are always present, sometimes hidden, sometimes obvious. You've learned that already. Before Olivia could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. You think you're in control? Think again. Her hands shook slightly. Marcus, Someone is threatening us. This isn't just business. This feels personal. Marcus leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Interesting. Whoever sent this thinks they can intimidate us. That's a dangerous assumption. Let's find out who they are. Olivia felt a chill. After everything that happened yesterday, this is too much. What if it's related to the deal? Marcus shook his head slowly. No, this isn't about the deal anymore. This is about someone who underestimated both of us, and they will soon regret it. He tapped on his laptop, running checks across multiple channels. Within minutes, he traced the origin of the message. A rival executive, jealous of Olivia's rise and Marcus's hidden power, had been watching the deal unfold closely. They had assumed vulnerability, seeing Marcus as a mere supportive spouse. They were about to learn that misjudging power could be fatal. Olivia watched him work, her admiration growing. She had always respected his business acumen, but seeing him take control under pressure, quietly yet decisively, was humbling. Marcus finally looked at her. They sent the message to intimidate. But they made a critical mistake. They revealed themselves. We now know exactly who we're dealing with, and we have an opportunity. Olivia's eyes widened. An opportunity? For revenge? Marcus nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. Not revenge in anger, but in precision. Timing, leverage, and execution. The same principles you've seen today will be used to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Olivia felt a thrill. The lesson of the wine incident, the secret ownership, and the high-stakes deal had prepared her for this. She was no longer just a participant. She was learning to see the invisible currents of power, and Marcus was guiding her. The night deepened, shadows filling the penthouse, as both husband and wife prepared for the next move. The game had evolved. The players were in position, and the real power was ready to strike. The next morning, the city was alive with noise and movement, but Marcus and Olivia were focused entirely on the task at hand. They had identified the rival executive who had sent the threatening message. The plan was subtle but devastating, a business maneuver that would publicly expose the rival while securing Marcus's and Olivia's dominance. Olivia stood by the large window, looking down at the bustling streets below. I never imagined business could feel like this. Like chess and war combined. Marcus nodded. Exactly. Every move is calculated, and the mistakes of others can be used against them if you act precisely. Patience and timing are everything. They spent hours preparing. Marcus drafted documents, Olivia rehearsed questions and responses, and together they anticipated every reaction the rival might make. By mid-afternoon, the setup was complete. The trap was nearly invisible, an overlooked clause in the rival's company filings, a subtle shift in stock control, and a carefully timed press leak. Olivia looked at Marcus, her eyes sharp. So when it happens, it will be public? Marcus smiled faintly. Yes, but it will also be undeniable. By the time they realize, it will be too late. The lesson will be learned perfectly. By evening, they scheduled a public meeting under the guise of discussing a joint industry initiative. The rival executive arrived, smug and confident, completely unaware that every move was anticipated and countered. Cameras were rolling, media were present, and every detail was orchestrated. Marcus and Olivia played their parts with calm precision. Olivia asked the questions that subtly revealed the rival's missteps. Marcus highlighted the hidden ownership and control, showing how easily the rival's strategies could be overturned. By the end of the session, the rival was publicly humiliated, exposed as reckless and overconfident. Olivia watched the rival's face turn pale. Marcus's calm, measured power had done the impossible, revenge delivered without a word of anger. The audience of executives, investors, and journalists witnessed a masterclass in strategy, and the rival's reputation suffered irreparably. After the meeting, Marcus turned to Olivia. You saw the power of timing, precision, and subtle leverage. This is not just business. This is strategy, and you handled your role perfectly. Olivia exhaled, a mixture of relief and triumph. The lesson from the wine incident, the secret ownership, and the threats had culminated in a dramatic but perfectly executed victory. She realized how much she had grown, not just as an executive, but as a partner in Marcus's world of unseen power. Late that night, Marcus and Olivia returned to their penthouse, the city glowing below them. The events of the past 2 days had left a lasting impact. Olivia still thought about the wine incident, the contract, and now the rival's humiliation. She felt a new sense of respect for Marcus and the subtle yet overwhelming control he wielded. Marcus poured 2 glasses of wine, this time, carefully avoiding any spills, and handed one to Olivia. She smiled, acknowledging the lesson, the power, and the subtle thrill of the day's events. "I have to admit," Olivia said, raising her glass slightly, "you orchestrated everything perfectly, from the wine to the deal to the rival executive. It was flawless." Marcus nodded, taking a sip. Flawless execution requires patience, timing, and strategy. Today, you saw how powerful that combination can be. But remember, power is always hidden in plain sight. And those who underestimate it often pay the price. Olivia's eyes sparkled. "I understand now, and I think I'm ready for anything. The lesson was painful, but I've learned it well." Marcus smiled faintly, his expression both proud and mysterious. "Good. But there's one final thing I haven't told you." Olivia raised an eyebrow, curious and cautious. "What?" Marcus leaned closer. "The rival executive who sent the threatening message. Their company is now under our control. Not just exposed, they are ours completely. The lesson wasn't just public humiliation. It was ownership. Revenge, yes, but precise and complete." Olivia's mouth fell open. She realized the full magnitude of what Marcus had done. Every move, every revelation, every calculated step had been part of a master plan. She had thought she knew power yesterday. Today she understood it fully. Marcus stood, walking to the window, looking out over the city. "Remember, Olivia, sometimes power is quiet, subtle, and unseen. But when revealed, it can change everything. And those who think they control the game are often just pawns in someone else's strategy." Olivia stood beside him, a mixture of awe, respect, and thrill washing over her. She had learned a lesson she would never forget, about power, strategy, timing, and the quiet but devastating force of a mind that saw everything. The city below glittered like a battlefield. And Marcus and Olivia, united in vision and strategy, knew they were now untouchable. The wine incident, the deal, the threats, and the rival's downfall had all been steps toward the same conclusion. And the final twist was undeniable. Revenge had been served, and control firmly secured.